When China's President Xi Jinping visited the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in Johannesburg last December, he pledged $60 billion in loans and development projects for Africa. That's triple what Beijing offered at the same forum 3 years earlier. Xi also promised to train 200,000 African workers, even bringing some to China to accomplish that. Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe praised China at the forum as a vital partner that had never colonized Africa.
Africa and China need to work together to ensure that road, rail, air, power, and water infrastructures are put in place. In addition, equipment and appropriate technology offered by the Chinese will help us extract and process our abundant resources.
Peter Fabricius of South Africa's Institute for Strategic Studies, in a Skype interview, explained why many see China's activities as no different from the exploitations of the colonialists.
For example, there's criticism that the trade between China and Africa is highly imbalanced, and that's because, you know, we import a whole bunch of manufactured goods and we export a lot of raw materials.
Beijing's One Belt, One Road trading strategy for Africa includes industrial zones along the Suez Canal, rail systems in Kenya, and seaports in Tanzania, all of which could help transport Africa's raw materials to China for manufacturing needs. Some analysts see another possible motive for China's investments. The Africa director of Washington's Atlantic Council, Peter Pham, says Beijing is trying to endear itself to African governments to create a sphere of influence.
Very much so. It certainly ingratiates itself with governments who get large projects, often politically well-timed in the electoral cycle of many African countries.
Peter Pham adds that many Chinese-backed projects are announced with great fanfare but never completed. He says projects that seem to get priority are those that help move natural resources on their way to China. China is also building a naval base in Djibouti, strategically located where the Red Sea meets the Gulf of Aden. Djibouti is not far from the mouth of the Persian Gulf, where the U.S. Fifth Fleet is based in Bahrain. Analyst Raffaello Pantucci of London's Royal United Services Institute tells VOA via Skype that Chinese policymakers see these moves as part of a geopolitical chess game in which they put bases in key locations to project power and protect shipping access.
I think that there are certainly hawks in the Chinese system who have a view of the world that is set out in this sort of geopolitical way. And they're still focused on a sort of geopolitical rivalry with the United States, and we'll see a lot of their moves in that kind of a light.
Pantucci and others say African states need to be more aggressive in negotiations with China, demanding that they build factories on the continent to process the natural resources extracted from Africa instead of just shipping them home. That way, they argue Africans will get desperately needed jobs as part of the process of adding value to the raw materials. And that in turn creates a more fair partnership rather than just a one-way street. Jeffrey Young, VOA News.